Hi, this is Alan Gassman, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today to talk about where we are with EstateView and where we're going with EstateView. Those of you here, I know some of you, and appreciate your friendship, appreciate all your input, and also appreciate your patience as we continue to build out this huge enterprise. We are at about 330 subscribers right now. I hope we'll have a lot more, but I'm very pleased that hundreds of people are using EstateView, and especially that some very sophisticated, very caring planners are both using it and helping us to improve it. We have a very brilliant programmer named Kevin Gray and some very bright college students and interns and literally people all over the world working on EstateView as we speak. The slides I have here will qualify for continuing education credit for lawyers in Florida and New York. If you're a CPA, then what the heck are you watching this for? You should be doing tax returns, but we will be able to give you a certificate if you would like to have a certificate. If you have a question or you'd like to provide us with input, I will be able to read your questions. If you just click on the question panel, it's that upside down question mark or that upside down pyramid, type in your question or your suggestion, and I'll be glad to answer it. If you are not an EstateView user, you can go to estateview.link, put that in your browser for a limited time, and it will bring you to this subscriber page. Go to new subscribers, the join us here thing, and use the code word Birmingham, because I was in Birmingham Thursday at Beatles song Take Me Back to Birmingham. While I was taken back to Birmingham, put any email address you like here, and then put in the word Birmingham in all caps, click sign there, and then you'll have 10 days use of EstateView. Highly recommended that you meet our associate Peter Farrell, who's a very brilliant young estate and trust lawyer. He is really enjoying teaching workshops for people who are learning EstateView, whether you're an experienced user or a new user. You can just send us an email, or you'll be able to eventually click on these webinars, and then you'll be able to just do it. And if you can't show up, that's fine. He can send you a video, but people are enjoying them, and they do qualify for educational credit. You can also go to our website at estateview.info. Pretty soon it's going to be estateview.com. We did purchase that, but we haven't gotten there yet with the website. And then we have videos for virtually all of our calculators. So we do have a brochure here, but no real reason for me to take you through it, other than to say my most profound thanks to Jerry Hash, who has been working with me on EstateView since 2012, quite patiently, I might add. And then also the other members of our creative team, Jonathan Blottmacher, Bob Keebler, who have given us great ideas, great input. Barry Flagg from Veralytic, got Chris Rowe there we can always thank. He's been fantastic. Kevin Miller. If you'd like to join us on this mission, please let us know. So I gave a presentation in Birmingham, as I said. I used a lot of math in my presentation. You probably can figure out what I said. If you want to see the video of the presentation, or you would like a transcript of the presentation from Thursday, just let me know. We'll be glad to share it. And if the internet goes down or something like that, I always like to have the PowerPoint with me. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring EstateView on. And I think, looking from your names, most of you are very fluent with EstateView, so you're here to see what's new. But for those of you who aren't new, when you book into EstateView, you're going to see our different modes and calculators. And one thing you can do that I like to do is I like to watch the news, but I like the news I like to watch. So on the left-hand side, I can click on news, and I've selected Thomson Reuters, Bloomberg Wealth, Yahoo Finance, and CNBC Wealth. So it's going to automatically show me the latest stories from each of these things, and then I can just click on any story, and there it is. I can look at the story. So I don't have to watch all the depressing news. I can just watch the news feeds that I want to use. And then these are the news feeds we have. In addition, if I'm doing this at night, I can do it in dark mode on my iPad. All of this works on the iPad. And also I can get summaries of the actual stories if I want to. So that is the news feature. A second feature, the chat feature, if you will send us a chat, we will answer that chat pretty quickly because it immediately emails to 6 of us. So Flip said, do you have a hard time answering questions quickly? And the answer is no. We love the distraction, honestly. So we've learned a lot, and Peter's done a great job of keeping these things up. People have asked us, can I white label the PowerPoints? I like the PowerPoints, but I'd like to use my disclaimer on the PowerPoints, and I would like to also use my logo on the PowerPoints. So you can go to customize, and it's pretty easy to put in your email address, to put in whatever disclaimer you would like to use as opposed to our disclaimer, and then to simply drag and paste in your logo. And then for evermore, until you change this for your clients, when you run PowerPoints and things like that, you're going to have them in your logo, not necessarily just in EstateView's logo. And if you need any help with that, or you have any ideas on how we may improve this, please let us know, and we will, of course, be glad to. So now I'm going to go back to comprehensive plans. And one thing that you may have noticed when you go to home and you go to comprehensive plans is the AI document review. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention that we did what most software companies of our nature should do. We passed what's called penetration testing, and we got SOC 2 certification. So EstateView is on the Amazon cloud, and Amazon, being the brilliant company that they have, allow their qualified users to make sure that the system is secure from a client information standpoint. So if you're going to want to put your clients' names into EstateView, the Amazon cloud makes sure that your client information does not go to the cloud. It stays on your computer. Your computer imports the program from EstateView. EstateView on the Amazon cloud does not receive the data. It is used in and stays in your browser, and it can be saved to your computer. And that is verified by our SOC 2 certification. A SOC 2 certification is an audit by a certified public accounting firm. So that's something that a lot of the registered investment advisors needed us to do, and we went ahead and did it. Okay, I'm going now to the AI document review. And the AI document review uses artificial intelligence, and what we've done is we have entered into a contract with OpenAI, and virtually all of the companies that are using AI and software are doing it with OpenAI. And the way this works is OpenAI has a contract with us which says that our data will not be used or leaked or made accessible outside of our platform. And that's also part of our SOC 2 certification. Now, you can do the same thing with ChatGPT 4.0. OpenAI owns and operates ChatGPT 4.0. If you use ChatGPT 4.0, you have to make sure that you are keeping the secrecy button on, so it's not permitted to learn from your use of the software. We have made that a permanent feature, of course, of EstateView. And as a result of that, what happens when we import a document to EstateView is that the document is reviewed thousands and thousands of times and divided into what they call 1,000-word chunks. And the 1,000-word chunk is what OpenAI gets access to, so that OpenAI, it's very cumbersome and very time-consuming, but OpenAI does not get a look at the client's trust. It's even hard to describe how this works, but I'll demonstrate. So right now, to my knowledge, we're the only software that analyzes buy-sell agreements, and we also analyze trust and estate documents. We're going to be adding leases, employment agreements, and operating agreements pretty soon. What OpenAI allows us to do is to give pages and pages of protocols so that when you click on trust or estate document, you copy and paste a trust or estate document into EstateView. Now, if you want to sterilize the document and change everyone's names, that's fine. But if you use your client name, it is still safe. I'm going to, for fun, when you go into EstateView, you can click on try a sample document, and then we have a number of sample documents for you. You can click on the document, and by the way, it can be a Word document or a PDF document. I click on the document, and now it is reading through the document and dividing it into the chunks of information. So now it's read the document. And I can ask it to do any one or more of these things. I can ask for an executive summary. We do this in part 1, part 2, so something happens, so you know something's happening, because everything can take 2 to 4 minutes. It will create a client-friendly summary. We have asked it to spot any issues in the document. We have asked it to analyze the document from a tax standpoint. We have asked it to analyze the document from a compliance standpoint, and we have asked it to make drafting suggestions. So instead of having to ask each of these questions one by one, you're able just to click Run Selected Analysis. Now, before I do that, I want to show you that you also have the ability up here on the right to adjust the speed and the data use. So the fastest speed with the lowest cost is here. Don't worry about the cost. We're absorbing the cost. Eventually, we'll be passing the cost on to some extent. It may cost $1, $1.50 to run an analysis. That's our problem right now, not yours. But if you want the most thorough analysis, you would click here. And then the speed is the slowest. Or you could go for a halfway mark. In addition, if you want to look at the document, you click on View Document, and then there's your document. And I'll tell you about the other buttons in a while. So going back to when I want to view the document, I click View Document. When I want to go back to do some analysis, I click on Hide Document. And now I can click on Run Selected Analysis. I click on Run Selected Analysis, and now it tells me that it is running this and that it will take 2 to 4 minutes. And we have found that it typically takes about 2 minutes. And what I'm going to do is, so we don't have to sit here for 2 minutes and watch, I'm now going to tell you, oh, it's already done. Wow, that was fast. So now here is part one of my executive analysis. The state is blank, it tells me. It gives me the name of the trust. It gives me the date of the trust. It gives me the original trustee's name. It gives me whether there's powers of appointments. It tells me about the division of the trust. And now it goes to executive summary part 2. And it tells me the section numbers. So if I read this, it's going to make reading the trust much faster, and it's going to remind me of things. For example, there's nothing in here that's charitable. Recommendation, consider charitable, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to provide me with a glossary of terms. If it has no table of contents, it should provide me with a table of contents. Right now it's working on the issue spotting. So when you're done, it can be 30 to 40 pages, a lot of fun, but certainly provide a young lawyer or a new lawyer or a smart layman with a lot of things to think about. Now, I will admit to you, this is analyzing one of our trust agreements, and it does find ambiguities. It does find incomplete provisions. It does find potential tax issues. Sometimes it's nothing. It's not a problem. But sometimes it's something that you would definitely want to look at and think about. And if you want to have your own organizational protocols in EstateView, if you're going to be a volume user, let us know, because we have had inputs from some of our volume users, and we have made changes to some of our protocols relating to the types of things that we want to see. Now, I ran the entire analysis on the same document on another version of EstateView that I have here, so that you can just see the length of all of this. But another thing I can do is I can click on clause generator. And then in clause generator, I can say, create a provision to indicate that any young adult must donate 20 hours each year to charity to get a distribution, and must pick up the check for the distribution from a trustee on Mars. Also change the age of distribution for young adults to 45 if it uses a lower age. Okay, then I click on generate, and then it tells me at the bottom that it's working on this provision. And in a little while, it may be 2 minutes, it may be 3 minutes, you're going to hear a beep. And then when you hear the beep, it's going to have provided that provision. Now, what we are close to having, and I have to admit we don't have it yet, except it is working in prototype, but it's not working 100% in prototype, is the entire document on the left in Word, and then a red line version on the right in Word that appears before your eyes. So you'll be able to take your document and take that email you get from the client that has no changes, and then that email that you get from the client with 9 changes, you'll input that into EstateView, and EstateView will make those changes to the best of its ability, and then you or your assistant will clean those up. You're not going to trust what you get from AI, but you're going to use it when it's right to make things right. So here is the provision that it just added. It knew to add this at 402E1A. I didn't tell it that. Additional conditions for distributions to young adult beneficiaries, notwithstanding any provision of the trust agreement to the contrary. If you're not 45, then you have 20-year charitable contribution, and then you have to go to the trustee to get this. And does it say you have to go to Mars? It says the designated location. And then it says, for purposes of this provision, the term Mars shall refer to the designated location, so specified. So then ask a question. Can you please add a thorough pet trust for the bird alley using the terms of the trust? All right, so I can click there. And now we'll see what happens. You can never be exactly sure. It's kind of like a very smart child, but typically you'll get the pet trust provision intermingled with the trust provision. So this is a safe way for you to use what's the equivalent of ChatGPT 4.0 with pages and pages of our protocols. I've spent, you can imagine, a lot of time, and I'm continuing to spend time improving this. But and I'll be glad to send anyone the printout of what we've just done here. What's interesting is if I ask the same exact questions of the same exact trust, I will not get the same answer the next time. It'll be similar, but it will not be exactly the same. It's certainly going to help clients understand their trusts. All right, so let me go back from AI now and go back to the calculators. By the way, Christian, is there a link to these slides too, or is the deck the same as the one earlier? This is a different deck, and I apologize that it's not in there, but I'll move it there later. Now let's just see, the AI just finished what I asked it for. So here's the pet trust. Let me see. Bird alley. Alley refers to my pet bird with the following identified characteristics. At my death, the trustee will establish a separate trust as the Alley Trust for the benefit of Alley, allocate the sum of blank dollars as adjusted for inflation pursuant to 4.10. See, it read my trust and it knew that my inflation adjustment was 4.10, and it worried about the bird that it would need an inflation adjustment. And then it tells you you need a caretaker and then a successor caretaker, and there's all the disbursements for Alley's care, the oversight of the caretaker, compensation of the caretaker, the successor caretaker, the termination of the trust, and then it understood that the trust had to terminate 21 years after duration of Alley's death. It's mentioning my death, but this is a irrevocable trust, so that's not quite right, so that would have to be fixed. It's got a spendthrift provision. It tells you to pick the state. So, you know, if that doesn't save time, then nothing will. So that's pretty interesting. That's the AI. Now I want to go to married clients, or I'll go to single. And I've got a nice surprise for everybody. I think you've probably seen the instant plan because I've been talking about it so much. So I'll cover that last for those of you who haven't seen it. But the nice surprise, and we promised this for one of the trust companies, it was a lot of work, but we now have the rolling GRAT as part of our estate tax comprehensive. So now with this married couple, I can go here to rolling GRATs, and I can click on rolling GRATs. So before rolling GRATs, I've got a large gift. As you can see, let me turn on large gift, pull on large gift, and where was that? Hello, large gift. Okay, turn on large, and we'll have a large gift. So you can see with the large gift, we're an estate tax of 12 million, 5 million goes into the gifting trust, 10 million in the gifting trust, still a 12 million estate tax. Now I go to rolling GRAT. The rolling GRAT initially receives another 5 million and has $1.3 million in it 10 years later with 0 estate tax use. So what I've done is I've had the $5 million GRAT, 2-year terms of the GRAT. The GRAT ran for the total of 10 years. The GRAT payment term is a level annual GRAT with 0 discount rate. Now, I can click here to input the GRAT 75/20 rates. If I want to use different rates for each year, I can default to March 2025, it's a 5.4, or January 2024 through January 2024 rates. So I can click that and it'll give me those historic rates. It's not perfect yet, but it is completely functional. And for fun here, if I go ahead and go from level to increasing the payments from year 1 to year 2 on each GRAT by 20%, the remainder goes from $1.6 million to $1.6 million. It changes very little. If I go ahead and make the first payment out 90%, the second payment 10%, the remainder actually goes down a little bit. So we're going to be spicing up the rolling GRAT as it's part of comprehensive, but we do have it in there now as part of comprehensive. If you've never used the rolling GRAT calculator, you go to rolling GRAT and click Pro Plus, see results, and it's very nice. But what I wanted to show you with the rolling GRAT, and by the way, now all of our calculators have a video at the bottom left-hand side. You can click on the corner to make it big or small, and you can also click on the X and it goes away. You can click on the blue button and it comes back, and it will walk you through the rolling GRAT. But with the rolling GRAT, what's great about the rolling GRAT is when the rates are up, you capture a lot. When the rates are down, it comes back out. So we start the rolling GRAT with January 4th annual results up through present for as many of those years as you want. So we'll be adding that into the comprehensive. It's not there yet, but at least with the comprehensive, you can give your client an idea of where the GRAT fits in. The next thing I'm going to show you, the final thing I'm going to show you, is the instant plan. Now, the instant plan, the version I'm showing you here is the not what we have backstage, it's what we have front stage for you. The first thing you see is a video, an instructional video, which we'll be updating. And then you have 3 choices on your intake form. You can do a full, robust client intake. So I don't have to send my clients a PDF and a Word document anymore to do my intake. I can send them a link to a portal, and they can fill this out in a very convenient and insightful manner. Or alternatively, I can just use it for the calculator. The client can fill that out, or I can. Or I can customize my intake form. So our intake form is very robust. You may want to customize. You may want to keep all the client details that we have. You may want to keep all the family details that we have, but you may want to cut back on certain things. So with customizing, you can, do you want their email? Do you want their phone number? Do you want their age? You can just click on what you want to be in your personal questionnaire. But anyway, with calculator only, I go ahead and click calculator only, and I click get started. And then it takes me through spouse, personal details of the client, spouse details, the family details, key financial data, life insurance, and charity. and you see this yellow ribbon. The yellow ribbon is telling me the inputs that I would use just for calculators. I'm not going to even have these other inputs other than assumptions, and we're going to add a yellow ribbon to assumptions. But very quickly, you've got what you would expect to see: a name, male or female, smoker, non-smoker, so we can tell you life expectancy. We're going to be adding actual life expectancy tables and not just using the 2010 rates pretty soon. Spouse information, number of children, number of grandchildren, so we know crummy powers. Annual savings in 3 tiers for first spouse and then surviving spouse. Values and growth rates for 2 residences, for up to an unlimited number of residences. IRA, growth rate and allocation of assets for both spouses. Investments outside of the IRA with a growth rate and asset allocation. And then one high growth rate asset, like a company that's going to explode in value and generate an income tax. Then if you want to add, you can put in the life insurance they have, and if you want to add a policy, you can just click on Add Policy, click on the amount of coverage you want to add, and it will assume that that coverage was added, so you can show a client what things would look like before and after adding the coverage. And then, would you like a testamentary provision to charity to the extent needed to zero out estate tax? If so, direct charitable, charitable lead annuity trust, or charitable remainder trust. Then I go to my assumptions, and my assumptions just show you what we are assuming. And this is where I could decide to not use a bypass trust. I could decide whether to use 1 or 2 Cuperts. Do I want to do annual gifting, discount annual gifting? Do I want to use a life insurance trust? Do I want to do a large gift? And if so, what percentage of investments? Do I want to do rolling grats? And if so, how much initially? Do I want to do an installment sale? If so, what's the discount rate? What percentage of assets? Do I want to use testamentary charity? So now I click on results. When I click on results, it's doing 40,000 calculations, mostly those Monte Carlo calculations. Now it's done, and I have a family tree of the children and grandchildren. And I've got their RMD results with and without charity, assuming that growth rate and assuming that the laws don't change. They start taking out at their required minimum distribution based upon the growth rate, so I can show them what that looks like with and without the charitable qualified distribution. It tells me right off the bat, it gives me Monte Carlo illustrations of rates of return probabilities for each of the 3 categories of assets that I provided. It gives me a retirement analysis using our NEST retirement needs tabulation column by column. So it sets that up and tells me offhand these people aren't going to make it based upon what they've told us they want to save and what they told us they want to spend. It gives me a Cupert analysis if each of them does a Cupert with each house that they have. It gives me a self-canceling installment note analysis, a private annuity analysis, a grantor retained annuity trust for 2 years, 5 years, and 8 years. And then when I go to married comprehensive, it does the same thing as our married comprehensive calculator does, but it's instant. And it guesses at what you want for the variables you did not give it. So it shows you if you die this year, here's your estate tax. If you die this year with planning, here's how much needs to go into the charitable lead annuity trust. Here's how much your children get later. And then with growth, it shows each of the things. So instead of having to go to the married couple calculator and putting all this information in, and then going to all the other calculators that I want to use and putting the information in calculator by calculator, it has automatically populated the married couple calculator, and I could use this, or I could go back and I could say I'd like to change something. What I see here is that with the installment sale, I've zeroed out the federal estate tax. That's fantastic. With the rolling grats, I still had some estate tax left. Maybe I don't need those rolling grats. So I can simply go back to the assumptions, click on assumptions, and then I can just take out the rolling grat. Don't need them. In fact, the estate tax, but they can't do $2 million a year in income. I saw that under retirement. Maybe they could live on $1.3 million of income. So now I'll click on results again. It's going ahead and running all the numbers again. And now I'll go to retirement, scroll down. They made it. They can do the $1.3 million. I'll just tell them not to spend as much. And now I can go to married couple comprehensive, and it's very quickly. Now I can see what happens with the large gift. The rolling grat should have come out, so I'll see what happened there later. There's the installment sale again. So if this is generally what I'd like to show the clients, I can go ahead and print my client letter, which you've seen in the married couple comprehensive, or maybe I want to fine tune. So I'm going to click on save to calculators, and then I have all the calculators that I can update for these people with their names, with their ages, with their rate of income, with their rate of growth. And I can either add this as additional calculations, or I can override the present calculations. I click on save, and all my calculators are now updated. So now I can go back home. I can go to married couples. There's the same folks with the same situation. See, the rolling grats was turned off there. The bypass trust was turned off. It's the same situation I just saw, but now I can fine tune much better. So that saves us a lot of time. Otherwise, the features are the same. I can go back to Instant Plan now, and I can say I showed with the calculators, but now I'd like to have a full intake. So I click on full intake, get started, and now it's going to start with what I've already given it. I don't have to reload from the calculators. It already knows a lot of this information, but now I can provide a lot more information. For example, the child's nickname, the child's middle name, where the child lives, the child's date of birth, the child's relationship. Is it a common child? Is it a child that was adopted by one, adopted by the other, adopted by both? Where does this child live? Then later it's going to ask, who insures this child? Why is the child driving your car? What doctor is the child seeing? You can get into as much information as you want. Now, one thing I was very careful to have programmed is you don't have to answer every question. If you leave something blank, you don't get that go back, asterisk, asterisk. Instead, it lets you go forward. So if you don't want to put in whether the child was adopted, if you don't want to put in their health, if you don't want to put in where they live, that's okay. EstateView will use the information that you give. But other examples, when you go to your parents, it's going to say, is your parent deceased? Yes or no? If not, are they going to give you an inheritance? Are they going to need support? Or are they going to be approximately neutral? And if they're going to give you an inheritance, how much is it going to be? Or if they need support, will it be now or will it be in the future? So that this can all go on the planner's report. And is your father married to your mother, or are they remarried? And who is he remarried to? We get into the pets. What kind of pet is it? What's the age of the pet? Are you interested in a pet trust? Do you have special instructions for your pet? So you can see the client, what are your upcoming events that you would like to tell us about? Do you have a wedding? Do you have a big trip? Are there any gifting patterns you would like to tell us about? So we have robust information in the asset area, savings, checking, money market, credit cards, student loans. What do you want to tell us about? Tell us what you want to tell us about. Properties, mortgages. Here's one I like. Who owns the car? Bob and Mary. Who drives the car? Dick and John. Why is that? It's going to ask you later. Why are you letting other people use your cars? Where do you want it to go when you die? With everything else? Or would you rather it go outright as a gift? And if so, who would you like to get that nice car? Here's all the names in your estate plan. Click on one. So this is going to be a time saver. It's going to allow clients to think things through. Do you have a boat over 21 feet? If so, do you realize you probably need an umbrella? Most umbrellas don't cover this. Are you going to make sure you get an umbrella? So it's more than just Mary Poppins here. And then the weapons. Do you have an automatic weapon? Do you realize that you probably should have a gun trust? If you have any automatic weapon, suppressor, or a barrel under 16 inches, then what is it that you have? So it's going to go ahead and ask all these questions that I haven't had time to ask. Do you have a wine collection? Do you have jewelry? Is it in a vault? Do you have anything offshore? Do you have community property? Also, the college funding module, it's a little informal, but how much have you saved? You've got a 16-year-old, you've saved $50,000, you want him to go public out of state. Do you think he's going to go to grad school, maybe medical school, out of state tuition? You need $525,000. You better save a lot today. And then it gives you the numbers, and these numbers are not right today, I just noticed, but you got the idea. Then there's optional questions for the planner, and if you want any optional questions, let us know what you'd like to have. We are adding questions like, would you like to know your probability of trust litigation? If they answer yes, then it asks 10 questions. Do you have an unequal estate plan? Do you have a family situation with dementia? Do you have an adult child who's always going to be dependent on you? Those are types of, and then what are you doing about trust litigation? Are you going to have an agreement signed by your children while you're alive? Are you going to use an offshore, a trust in Alaska where it's harder to sue? So it's going to give them that kind of information as part of their input. So once I have the information put in, I can again go to results, click on results. It's putting all that information together. And one thing I really like here is I can click export to Excel. And then when I open the export to Excel, I get a Excel document. I know you guessed that, but let me show you this Excel document. And keep in mind, if the client does the input and you end up with this Excel document, how much time have you saved and what value have you brought to the client? To show them, here I'll enable editing, to show them here's the relative size of your present investments, the way things are looking now. Your 61% stocks, 9.67% personal real estate, etc. Here's the size of your liabilities, but the rate you're going at retirement, here's what it's going to be. The same, the percentages are going to be different. And here is just a summary of asset by value and category. But here, this is what the interns have done a great job with. This by category is all your assets with a description of each asset, the owner, whether it's the husband's, the wife's, or joint liabilities associated therewith, and then net values. So that's going to give the client this. We're also working on having it automatically populate a personal financial statement. So, and then it's going to also summarize the documents that they've given you and the documents that you're going to be providing and other information that you need. So that's using the software and using Excel. And now my family tree is going to be much more robust. My calendar is going to show birthdays, anniversaries, and any other important dates that they told us, as well as public holidays and different tax days. And then my letter writer right now is going to address a letter to them with a lot of the things that you want to make sure you think about telling each client. You can look at this at your leisure, but we're going to be adding some artificial intelligence type of outcomes like, hey, get the car out of joint names, get the car into the name of the person who drives it. And are you sure you want your children to be driving all the cars? Shouldn't they just be driving the car of the spouse who got them the driver's ed consent? Because that's the one who's responsible on the roadways. So going back to home, this was to be a 50-minute tour. It turned out to be a 56-minute tour. I see from the attendance that most of you are still here, and I assume some of you are awake. And let me see if there's any questions here. Is there a link to the slides? I'll go ahead and link the slides in a minute here. Glad to email them. Otherwise, what's the price? We've gone to $799 for one user. There's a volume discount above that. I'm still, though, actually only charging $499 on the website until I get Instant Plan and the AI out of beta. I expect that that'll happen sometime in April. How do you attend how do you get more information / attend a webinar? Well, here's the PowerPoint deck. You can go ahead and just sign up or send me an email if you want to go. That way Peter gets you right on the software and shows you how to use it. March 17th at noon, March 24th at noon, or if you want CE credit, March 19th at noon, March 26th at noon. If you want 50 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes with Peter, our next one is Friday, March 21st. Thank you so much for sitting through this. We've come a long way. We're going to keep on going. And with your support and help, we are very encouraged. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, or anyone who you would like for us to talk to about EstateView, please let me know. I had a delightful time speaking at the Birmingham Estate Planning Council. I'd spent about 35 minutes on slides and about 25 minutes on EstateView. They had a very, very nice practical experience. A lot of them, I think, for the first time understood some of this estate tax planning. When you illustrate it, it's much easier to understand. And when you illustrate it properly, it's a lot safer because you're doing the right thing for the client, of course. Thanks again. I'm going to just close my slides here and move my slides into the download for you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Now, okay, it's in there, so I'll just leave this open. I'll turn off my camera and my sound. And thanks again. Thanks for the nice praise from Christian, Christopher, Neil, Sally, and Rob again. Can't thank you enough. And thanks for Marcia for letting me work. Bye. Okay, for those of you still here, I have put the handouts there so you can pull them off. I'll leave this on for a couple more minutes. Have a great weekend. Thanks again.